Before you fly off the handle, Johnny, take a deep breath. Ha, 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 ha. Does someone somewhere have a voodoo doll collection of this roster? As always, not helping. I guess the season's over. So, sit down silence. That was the plan.
Why does it say placed on waivers?
Nothing said. I have to talk about dumb moves and a pet's front office.
What the hell did I just watch?
Do I really need to be here for this at this point?
I'm not having flashbacks to Game 4 against the Canucks last spring.
At this point, Johnny, you can just splice together old intros.
Cutie intro.
Let Denson take you home.
Hey Preds Nation, Johnny here. I'm not going to get all yelly, screaming, and mad. It's only game 79 of the regular season. Preds do not have that E next to them in the standings, so we can't count them out just yet. After so many times this season, me and other people in this fan base have tried, and they come back with a vengeance. So I'm going to talk about the game briefly, and then I'm going to talk about where this puts them in the standings today and with a week left remaining in the schedule. First of all, as for tonight, Preds lose 4-1 to the Utah Mammoth Thursday night in the Delta Center in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is a good Utah Mammoth team. With this victory over the Preds tonight, they have now won 5 in a row. They're going to be a hell of a test for whoever they face as a division winner in the Pacific Division, whether that be Edmonton, Vegas, or the Anaheim Ducks. Still a lot left to be decided there. So props to Utah. And I will preface what I'm about to say for the game that I got stuck watching the Utah feed after being rewarded watching the Preds feed on Tuesday. Of course, I'm back down to earth watching the Utah feed, so I didn't always see things the right way in this game because of my perspective in my viewing pleasure. As that early in the second period, after it was already 1-0 Utah, I didn't know right away until I saw the replay better, and it was pointed out to me by other Preds fans. I was all ready to jump on Justin Barron for his tripping call on Michael Carcone that led to a Nick Schmaltz power play goal. But upon further examination, oh look, just like the New Jersey game, the Preds get called for a tripping penalty when it was a body check. And of course, Utah doesn't point out that the ref screwed up there because of course not. So, that ticked me right off. And then late in the second period, when Clayton Keller was going to get called for a delay of game penalty, that type of penalty doesn't usually get challenged, but Utah video coach knew for sure and told Andre Turing to challenge it. He was right to do so. I can say that. I wish Utah could call things out when it wasn't in their favor to do so. The puck in a delay of game penalty for Clayton Keller actually went out over the glass off of Ryan O'Reilly's stick, so they were right to call it back. And Preds were playing a lot better in the second period after a slow start in the first period, out shooting Utah 12-6 in that second period. So maybe they could come back and make a game of it, maybe force it to overtime. Nope. In the third period, not even 6 minutes in, Lawson Krause and then Dylan Gunther make it 3-4-0. So the game's out of reach. And props to the Preds though for having some sense of pride and not letting themselves get shut out for the fourth time this season. A late power play goal by Eric Holla makes it maybe a little bit more respectable. Late in regulation, in the Utah zone, you've got Mikhail Sergachev, who cross-checks Luke Evangelista almost headfirst into the board. Luckily, he would stand up under his own esteem and shake it off and be able to skate off. I don't know why in the world they didn't call that a penalty. I've been hammering this game after game after game that you can easily, it's in the rule book now, you can easily call a 5-minute major, review it, and then downgrade it to 4-2 or nothing. At least utilize that for player safety. Last thing this Preds team needs with 3 games left in the season after this one is to lose Luke Evangelista when the Preds need all hands on deck. So that is inexcusable, but come to expect this from the NHL Department of Safety run by George Peros. Not to mention the fact that in this game, the Preds were without the captain, Roman Josi, with an upper body injury, already missing Nick Hague with this patchwork of a blue line that the Preds put together. The Utah Mammoth speed was too much for the Preds, and it showed. You know, Hague and Josi's injuries have to be that bad if games of these importance they're missing out on. I hope and pray they get to return to the lineup before the end of the season, because this team needs 110%, as we'll get to how this affects things in the out-of-town scoreboard and the standings moving on. I was just a little hopeful that maybe the Preds could have won this game, because this is now the Preds' third trip to Salt Lake, and in the previous two, they had won. So now the Preds have lost in all 32 NHL buildings, including their own, and every time they've gone on a road. Now, as for the out-of-town scoreboard that affects the Preds right now, as I referred to the listing. Now, Anaheim did the Preds a favor. They defeated San Jose. Now, one thing I will point out, even though that isn't locked up in terms of positioning, it is locked up in terms of matchup. The Dallas Stars, in disguise, maybe did the Preds a favor by defeating Minnesota in regulation, because now the most that Minnesota can achieve is 108 points, meaning that Dallas, who has the regulation win tiebreaker on Minnesota, only needs any possible 2 points. So Minnesota, yeah, you could win all your games and hope that Dallas only gets one more point, but most likely Dallas is going to get home ice. So maybe Minnesota considers starting to rest guys, play their backup Wallstead a few more times down the stretch here. Getting Gustafsson, their starter, some quality rest, and that starts with Saturday's matinee game against Minnesota in Nashville. Hopefully Wallstead will start. Maybe some players will get rested in that game, and maybe it will help benefit the Preds. Winnipeg beat St. Louis. I keep counting out the Winnipeg Jets, and they keep coming right back. Right now, LA is beating Vancouver 3-1. We'll get to everybody's schedule. I'm hoping maybe, since Vancouver has nothing to play for and they're playing the kids, maybe they can step up and surprise and put an L on the Kings, because the Preds need some help now. It's not impossible, but the Preds do need some help to get themselves back into wild card spot number 2. Now, as for the remaining schedules of everybody, the Preds have the advantage, you would think, because they've played every single road game that's on their schedule, and their 3 remaining games are all at home. I assume they'll fly back to Nashville tonight, so up until game 82 next week, they will be in their own bed. But 2 of their 3 opponents are finishing with 3 road games. First, we've got LA, who, yeah, they're facing Vancouver tonight, and they're winning right now, but they have a tough game. Saturday, your rooting interest should be on Saturday night, Hockey Night in Canada. Even though the game will be in LA, you've got to be Oilers fans. Hope LA gets a regulation loss at the hands of Connor McDavid. And then the Kings will go on the road back-to-back. So hopefully maybe the Preds catch a break there, not being able to sweep it. The Kings will go into Seattle on Monday night, and in a back-to-back, the Canucks, the young kids, maybe the Canucks can catch the Kings kind of tired, and then the Kings will finish off on the road on next Thursday in Calgary. Winnipeg faces the Flyers in Winnipeg on Saturday night. Then they'll have a back-to-back, so maybe they can get tired on the second half too, facing a tough Vegas team who's still going to be fighting for the Pacific Division. Then they'll face the Utah Mammoth in Salt Lake City on Tuesday before finishing the season against the San Jose Sharks, who, amazingly, San Jose still not completely out of it, even though they lost to Anaheim. Thank you, Ducks. On Thursday. Now for San Jose's schedule, the other team that will finish off on the road. They, who lost tonight, will go back home to face the Canucks on Saturday night. Maybe the Canucks can step up against that team because the Sharks have not been impressing at all either tonight against Anaheim or Wednesday when they were terrible. They were absolutely terrible against the Oilers. Then on Monday, they're going to be in Nashville. Preds potentially, with the playoffs on the line, trying to go for a franchise record 16th straight win against one team when San Jose will be in Nashville. And then San Jose will finish their last two games of the regular season on a back-to-back in Chicago on Wednesday night. Oh, lordy me, if I have to be a big Blackhawks fan come next Wednesday. And then the Sharks will be in Winnipeg to finish off their regular season. God help if we have to stress out about watching the Preds game against the Ducks and also hoping that the Winnipeg San Jose game on Thursday doesn't finish if a 3-point game. But anyways, that's all I wanted to say. For now, I wanted to cool you guys down, not stress you out. Enjoy this, and hey, if the worst comes to worst and the Preds aren't able to sneak their way back into the playoffs, it's been a hell of a last few months, especially since American Thanksgiving, that the Preds, if they don't make it back in, considering the fact that the West is so weak overall, the Preds can be right back potentially with a chance to make some noise come the NHL draft lottery. But first things first, let's just see how things shake out, and let's enjoy Preds hockey while we still can. Sans they don't get to play past April 16th. So after all that, hopefully I was able to talk many of you off of the proverbial ledge because the season's not over. That is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching as always. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. You can find my social media and interact with me during every Preds game by clicking on a channel name. Tell all your friends about redemption. Everyone deserves a chance at redemption. This team still has 3 more games left to go in the regular season to potentially do that. Don't miss a chance to witness redemption.